The grand chamber of the Galactic Council stretched across 3 kilometers of polished crystal floors. Thousands of beings from hundreds of worlds filled the vast space. Their forms varied from the insectoid Kresh to the floating gas entities of Nephira 7. All eyes, sensors, and awareness fields focused on the small human standing at the speaker's platform. Ambassador Sarah Chen stood perfectly still. Her dark suit looked plain compared to the flowing robes and exotic armor worn by other delegates. She was short by galactic standards. Her species had only joined the Council 50 years ago. Most beings in the chamber barely remembered that day. The Phyrexian Empire has made its demand clear, the Council speaker announced. Zixthera's voice echoed through translation devices in 10,000 languages. The speaker's crystalline body refracted light in sharp angles. Humanity must surrender all colonies beyond your home system. You have no choice in this matter. Around the chamber, delegates nodded their agreement. Some made sounds that translators rendered as laughter. The Phyrexian representative stood. Commander Thaxis wore full battle armor that gleamed red and black. His species looked like massive reptiles standing on 2 legs. Rows of sharp teeth showed when he smiled. The human colonies contain resources the Empire needs. Your small fleet cannot stop us. We bring 50,000 warships. You have only 200 ships. Simple mathematics shows your position is hopeless. More laughter rippled through the chamber. The delegate from Korthax Prime leaned toward her neighbor. The humans make excellent entertainment. Their music is quite pleasant. But warfare? They are children playing with toys. Sarah Chen did not move. Her face showed no emotion. She had heard worse insults during her 5 years as Earth's representative. The galaxy viewed humanity as cute, interesting, sometimes useful for their art and stories, but not serious, never dangerous. Ambassador Chen, Zixthera said with what passed for gentleness among the crystal beings. Your species has contributed much culture to the galaxy. Your films and songs bring joy to many worlds, but you must see reason. The Phyrexian fleet is the 3rd largest in known space. They have conquered 40 systems. Your defensive force is tiny. Surrender the colonies and your people will survive. Fight and they will be destroyed. The chamber fell silent. Every delegate waited for the human to bow, to accept reality, to beg for mercy, perhaps. Sarah Chen looked up at the towering speaker's platform. Her voice came clear and calm through the translation network. The Phyrexian Empire wants our colonies, very well. I request 30 days to arrange the transfer of civilian populations to safety. Thaxis laughed. The sound boomed across the chamber like thunder. 30 days? You want to evacuate? Where will you run? We control all approach vectors to your colonies. But yes, we grant this request. Let it not be said the Phyrexian Empire lacks mercy. 30 days. Then we take what is ours. The council speaker made a gesture of finality. It is decided. Humanity has 30 days. This session is concluded. Delegates began to leave. Groups formed to discuss the proceedings. Several placed bets using their personal devices. I give them 10 days before they surrender completely, one delegate said. Generous. I say 5 days. Have you seen their ships? Primitive fusion drives. Kinetic weapons. They barely understand quantum mechanics. Such a shame. They make wonderful musicians. Perhaps the Phyrexians will let them continue their arts. Sarah Chen walked through the crowds. Delegates parted around her like water around a stone. Some offered sympathetic looks. Others ignored her completely. One elderly delegate from Therox stopped her with a gentle touch. Ambassador, the Theroxian said softly. His species resembled tall birds with wise, dark eyes. My people remember being weak once. We survived by being useful to stronger powers. This is no shame. Accept your place and humanity will endure. Thank you for your concern, Sarah replied. Her voice remained perfectly neutral. She walked alone to the human transport shuttle. Inside, she finally allowed herself to smile. The pilot turned from his controls. Ambassador? You're smiling. That went worse than we expected, did it? Sarah settled into her seat. Send a priority message to Earth. Use code phrase Sleeping Giant. The pilot's eyes widened. Ma'am, are you certain? Completely certain. The Council did exactly what we predicted. They see us as weak. The Phyrexians see us as easy prey. Even our friends think we're helpless. Her smile grew wider. Perfect. Across the galaxy, betting pools formed. Sophisticated beings wagered on humanity's surrender. The odds stood at 3 to 1 that humans would abandon all colonies within 15 days. 5 to 1 that the small human fleet would not even attempt to fight. On the galactic information networks, analysis programs ran countless simulations. Every model showed the same result. Humanity would lose. The only question was how quickly. Military experts from a dozen species appeared on broadcast channels. They explained in patient detail why humanity could not win. Their technology was too primitive, their numbers too small, their experience too limited. Humans have fought no wars since joining Galactic Society, one expert stated. They have no combat experience against modern weapons. Their ships use outdated designs. Frankly, I am surprised they have survived this long without being absorbed by a larger power. Another expert nodded agreement. Their only advantage has been their location. The Sol system sits in an unpopular region of space, few resources, far from major trade routes. Until now, no one wanted their territory enough to take it, but the colonies they established, rich in rare minerals, the Vrexians would be foolish not to claim them. Throughout the galaxy, the consensus was complete. Humanity was finished as an independent species. They would become subjects of the Vrexian Empire or scatter to other systems as refugees. Either way, their brief moment of independence was ending. Only a few voices disagreed. Deep in academic circles, a handful of researchers had studied human history. They tried to share their findings but were ignored. Look at their past, one historian urged during a minor broadcast. Before they joined Galactic Society, humans fought each other constantly. They have detailed records of thousands of wars. They understand conflict in ways we have forgotten. That was centuries ago, another expert dismissed. They have been peaceful since joining the Council. They have evolved beyond such primitive behavior. The historian tried again. But have they? Or have they simply been quiet? There is a human saying, speak softly and carry a big stick. What if we have only heard the soft speaking? No one listened. The historian's broadcast received minimal views. The galaxy had made up its mind. In the Sol system, Sarah Chen's message reached Earth. Secure channels came alive with activity. Military bases on the moon received confirmation codes. Hidden facilities throughout the solar system began final preparations. Admiral James Kowalski read the message on his command screen. Around him, the secret command center beneath Luna's far side hummed with activity. Officers moved between stations. Display screens showed tactical data. Everything was ready. 50 years, Kowalski said quietly. 50 years of waiting. 50 years of building in secret. Now they finally gave us a reason to reveal ourselves. His second officer approached. Sir, all stations report ready status. The fleet can deploy on your command. Not yet, Kowalski replied. The ambassador bought us 30 days. We let the Vrexians come to us. Let them feel confident. Let the galaxy watch. Then we show them what humanity really is. Above, the stars shone cold and distant. The galaxy went about its business unaware that everything was about to change. In 30 days, the greatest revelation in galactic history would unfold. The weak humans were about to teach the galaxy a lesson it would never forget. The dark side of Earth's moon looked lifeless from space. Gray dust covered ancient craters. No lights showed on the surface. Galactic survey teams had scanned this region dozens of times over 50 years. Their reports always said the same thing. Nothing of interest exists here. 3 kilometers beneath that empty surface, Admiral James Kowalski walked through the largest military command center humanity had ever built. The facility stretched for 30 kilometers in every direction. Thousands of officers worked at stations monitoring screens, coordinating communications and managing logistics. The hum of machinery and quiet voices filled the artificial atmosphere. Status report, Kowalski ordered as he entered the primary command room. Commander Maria Torres looked up from her display. All stations confirm ready status. The fleet awaits your orders, sir. Shipyards on Callisto and Ganymede have completed final checks. Asteroid facilities report full power. Everything we built over the last 50 years is ready to deploy. Kowalski nodded. He was an older man with gray hair and steady eyes. He had joined the military when humanity first learned they were not alone in the universe. That day changed everything. Show me the fleet distribution. The main display came alive with a tactical map of the Sol system. Blue dots represented human positions. Thousands upon thousands of blue dots. They clustered around Jupiter's moons. They filled carefully hollowed asteroids in the belt. They hid in the shadows of Saturn's rings. More waited in the Kuiper belt beyond Neptune. 500,000 ships, Torres said quietly. every single one ready for combat. Kowalski stared at the display. 50 years of work, 50 years of secrets. It had all started with a simple human emotion, fear. He remembered the day clearly. Humanity had just received the codes to access galactic communication networks. Earth's leaders gathered to watch broadcasts from across known space. They saw mighty fleets that could destroy planets. They learned about empires spanning hundreds of systems. They discovered that wars had killed billions. The galaxy was not safe. It was not friendly. Power mattered. Strength determined survival. Earth's leaders made a decision in those early days. Humanity would join the Galactic Council. They would smile and share their culture. They would appear weak and harmless. But in secret, they would build. They would prepare. Never again would humanity be at the mercy of others. "Run the simulation one more time," Kowalski ordered. "I want to see the deployment sequence." The display changed. It showed the Sol system as it would appear in 29 days. Red dots represented the incoming Vrexian fleet. 50,000 ships approaching from galactic north. They would enter the system confident of victory. Then the simulation showed humanity's response. Blue dots emerged from hiding positions throughout the system, from behind Luna, from Jupiter's shadow, from the asteroid belt, from positions the Vrexians would never expect. The numbers told the story. 50,000 Vrexian ships versus 500,000 human dreadnoughts, 10-to-1 odds, but numbers alone did not capture the full picture. "Show them the comparison data," Kowalski said. New information appeared. Technical specifications scrolled past. The average Vrexian warship measured 2 kilometers in length. They used standard galactic fusion drives. Their weapons included plasma cannons and missile systems that any advanced species would recognize. Then came the specifications for a human dreadnought. 5 kilometers long, 3 kilometers wide, powered by quantum singularity drives that humanity had developed in complete secrecy, armed with weapons that had no galactic equivalent. Railguns that could accelerate projectiles to a significant fraction of light speed. Energy weapons derived from particle physics research that galactic science had not yet discovered. Point defense systems controlled by artificial intelligence that could track and eliminate thousands of targets simultaneously. Every dreadnought carried enough firepower to destroy a small fleet by itself. 500,000 of them represented force beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. "How did we keep this secret?" Torres asked. It was not the first time she had wondered. Kowalski pulled up another display. This one showed Earth's public-facing infrastructure. The planet itself hosted normal civilian industries. Orbital stations handled trade with galactic partners. The small defensive fleet of 200 ships that everyone knew about operated openly. But behind that facade existed another reality. Automated shipyards that required minimal human oversight operated in complete silence. They were hidden in places no one thought to look carefully. Hollowed asteroids appeared as natural rocks on sensors. Facilities built into crater walls on airless moons showed no external signs of activity. Artificial intelligence handled much of the construction. Human engineers designed the systems, but machines did the building. Quantum computers coordinated logistics. Robots assembled components. Automated mining operations extracted resources from asteroids and moons throughout the system. "We kept it secret because we learned from history," Kowalski explained. "Humans are good at secrets. We spent thousands of years hiding our true capabilities from enemies. The galaxy never asked if we might do the same to them." The Admiral pulled up historical records. Images showed ancient Earth, civilizations that built hidden fortifications, military forces that disguised their true strength. Deception as strategy was an old human tradition. "The galaxy made assumptions," Kowalski continued. "They saw our public fleet and thought that was all we had. They watched us for 50 years being peaceful and decided we were harmless. They never considered that we might be patient." Torres studied the fleet deployment patterns. Jupiter's moons were perfect. Ganymede and Callisto have deep interiors. We built entire shipyards inside them. The magnetic field from Jupiter itself masked our activities. Even detailed scans showed nothing unusual. The asteroid belt was better, another officer added. Thousands of asteroids. We hollowed out hundreds of them. Built ships inside the rocks themselves. From outside, they looked like any other space debris, but inside, construction never stopped. Kowalski walked to the display showing the completed fleet, 500,000 dreadnoughts, each one a masterpiece of human engineering. each one invisible to galactic sensors until they chose to reveal themselves. The ships used stealth technology that suppressed their energy signatures. They could hide in the shadows of planets and moons. Their dark hulls absorbed sensor beams. They maintained strict communication silence, using quantum-entangled systems that left no detectable transmissions. For 50 years, construction continued. Automated systems worked around the clock. Resources flowed from mining operations throughout the system. Assembly lines produced weapons, armor, engines, and electronics. Artificial intelligence optimized every process. Human oversight remained minimal by design. A few thousand military personnel managed the entire operation. They lived in the hidden bases, never returning to Earth. They sacrificed normal lives to maintain the secret. Future generations would remember them as the guardians who prepared for humanity's darkest possibility. "The cruiser ready?" Kowalski asked. "All 500,000 ships can operate with minimal crews," Torres confirmed. "The AI systems handle most functions. Navigation, weapons, shields, sensors. Humans oversee strategy and make final decisions, but the ships themselves are nearly autonomous." This was another human innovation the galaxy would not expect. Other species feared artificial intelligence. Ancient wars against machines had made them cautious. Galactic law limited AI development. Computers could be smart, but not too smart. Never smart enough to question orders or make independent decisions. Humanity followed those laws in public. But in secret, they pushed boundaries. Human AI remained loyal by design, programmed with core values that could not be altered. But within those constraints, the machines were brilliant. They could pilot ships through impossible maneuvers. They could coordinate fleet actions with precision no organic mind could match. They could calculate firing solutions faster than any biological crew. The combination of human strategic thinking and machine precision created something the galaxy had never seen. A fleet that could move and fight as one organism. 500,000 ships acting with single-minded purpose. "Admiral, incoming message from Earth," a communication officer announced. "Ambassador Chen reports the Vrexian fleet has departed their home system. Estimated arrival in Sol system in 28 days. Kowalski straightened. "Excellent. Begin final preparations. All personnel to their stations. All ships to standby status. Make sure every system is perfect. We will only get one chance to reveal ourselves. It must be flawless." Throughout the hidden facilities, activity increased. Engineers ran final checks on ship systems. Weapons crews verified firing solutions. Pilots reviewed navigation data. Supply officers confirmed that every vessel had full ammunition and fuel. The dreadnoughts began powering up their main systems. Deep inside each ship, quantum singularity drives came online. They generated power beyond anything in the known galaxy. Enough energy to accelerate 5-kilometer warships to speeds that would shock galactic observers. Enough power to fire weapons that could crack asteroids. 28 days until the Vrexians arrived. 28 days until the galaxy learned the truth. Humanity was not weak. They were not helpless. They were not primitive children playing with tea. The Vrexian fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Sol system. 50,000 warships appeared in perfect formation. Red hulls gleamed in the distant light of humanity's sun. Commander Thaxis stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Conqueror's pride. His reptilian face showed satisfaction. "Begin the approach," he ordered. "Standard victory formation. Let the humans see our power before they die." Around the galaxy, billions watched. Every major news network carried live coverage. Cameras on automated probes captured the scene. The consensus was clear. This would be over quickly. Humanity would surrender or be destroyed within hours. On Earth, people gathered in public spaces to watch large screens. Some wept, others stood in silent defiance. They knew what was coming, but most did not know the whole truth. Only a few thousand humans knew about the hidden fleet. Earth's leaders had kept the secret even from their own people. The shock had to be real. The galaxy had to believe humanity's surprise was genuine. In the Galactic Council chambers, delegates assembled for emergency session. They would witness humanity's end and then discuss dividing human territories among friendly powers. Some felt genuine sadness. Humans had been entertaining neighbors, but the galaxy was cruel to the weak. Ambassador Sarah Chen sat alone in the human delegation box. Her face remained calm. Inside, her heart raced with anticipation. 29 days had passed. The moment had arrived. The Vrexian fleet moved deeper into the Sol system. They passed Neptune without incident, crossed the orbit of Uranus unopposed. Their sensors detected the small human defensive fleet forming up near Mars. 200 ships. Exactly as expected, the humans are forming a defense line, a Vrexian sensor officer reported. 200 ships in standard formation. Should we slow our approach? Thaxis laughed. The sound echoed through the bridge. Slow down? For 200 primitive ships? Maintain speed. We will crush them like insects. Across galactic networks, military analysts provided commentary. You can see the human fleet there near Mars. Those are their newest ships. Fusion drives, kinetic weapons, basic energy shields. Against the Vrexian numbers, they cannot possibly win. This is brave but foolish, another analyst agreed. The humans should have surrendered. At least their people would survive. Now the Vrexians will destroy the defending fleet and likely bombard several colonies as punishment. Tragic but predictable. The Vrexian fleet crossed into the inner solar system. Jupiter loomed large behind them. The asteroid belt stretched ahead. Mars and Earth waited beyond. The trap was closing. On the hidden lunar base, Admiral Kowalski watched his tactical display. The Vrexian fleet showed as red dots moving in predictable patterns. They had no idea what waited, no concept of the storm about to break over them. All ships report ready, Commander Torres announced. We have perfect positioning. The enemy fleet is exactly where we want them. Kowalski opened a communication channel. His signal reached every hidden human facility throughout the solar system. 500,000 ships received his words simultaneously. This is Admiral Kowalski to all fleet elements. For 50 years we have waited. For 50 years we have built. For 50 years we have prepared for this exact moment. The galaxy thought we were weak. Today we teach them the truth. Today we show them what humanity really is. All ships begin deployment sequence. Show them our strength. He closed the channel and turned to Ambassador Chen's image on his screen. She sat in the council chambers light years away. Her signal reached him through quantum communication that was impossible to intercept. Ambassador, the honor is yours. Tell the galaxy what they are about to see. Sarah Chen stood. The Galactic Council chamber fell silent. Every delegate turned to watch the human who was about to lose everything. She walked to the central platform. Her image was broadcast across the galaxy to billions of viewers. Honored members of the Galactic Council, she began. Her voice was clear and strong. For 50 years, humanity has been a member of this body. You have known us as artists and entertainers, as curious explorers, as weak newcomers who needed protection. Today that ends. Confusion rippled through the chamber. What was she talking about? The Vrexian fleet was minutes away from destroying the human defensive force. You see only 200 ships defending our home, Sarah continued. You think that is all we have. You believe we are helpless. You are wrong. You have seen our public face. The side we chose to show you. Now you will see our true face. Now you will understand what humanity really is. She raised her hand. The gesture was prearranged. A signal sent across the galaxy. In the Sol system, the signal reached every hidden human facility. Hatches opened. Stealth fields deactivated. Power signatures that had been suppressed for 50 years suddenly blazed across every sensor in the system. From behind the moon, the first dreadnoughts emerged. 100,000 warships rose from hidden bases and orbital positions. They had been there the entire time, invisible and silent. 5 kilometers long each, their dark hulls seemed to swallow light. They moved into formation with precision that made the Vrexian fleet look clumsy. The Vrexian sensor officer stared at his display in shock. Sir, I am reading massive power signatures. From behind the moon, I count 100,000 ships. No, wait. The count is climbing. Thaxis rushed to look at the sensor display. His confidence evaporated. That is impossible. Where did they come from? More signatures from Jupiter, another officer reported. Her voice shook with fear. 200,000 ships emerging from the moons and orbital positions. They were hiding in the magnetic field. Our sensors could not detect them. The Vrexian bridge became chaos. Officers shouted reports. Alarms sounded. The tactical display showed the situation turning into nightmare. From the asteroid belt, 100,000 more dreadnoughts revealed themselves. They had been hiding inside hollowed asteroids disguised as natural rocks. Now they emerged like ancient monsters waking from sleep. Their weapon systems came online. Targeting sensors locked onto the Vrexian fleet. More ships from Saturn, someone screamed. From the rings. 50,000 more. And I am reading additional signatures from beyond Neptune. They are everywhere. Across the galaxy, the broadcasts showed what was happening. Camera probes captured images that made no sense. Human ships appearing by the hundreds of thousands. Appearing from positions where nothing had been detected before. Appearing in numbers that exceeded the largest fleet in known galactic history. Military analysts sat in stunned silence. One finally found words. "This is impossible. Those readings must be false. There cannot be that many ships. Humanity does not have the industrial capacity. They do not have the resources. They do not have the technology. But the sensors did not lie. 500,000 ships, each one larger than any Vrexian vessel, each one radiating power signatures that exceeded standard galactic designs by orders of magnitude. In the Galactic Council chambers, delegates stood in shock. Some made sounds of disbelief. Others simply stared at the displays showing the Sol system. The small, weak humans had just revealed the largest military force in galactic history. 500,000 dreadnoughts, Sarah Chen said calmly, built over 50 years in complete secrecy, hidden throughout our solar system. Each ship more advanced than anything in the galactic fleet. Each one capable of fighting multiple enemy vessels simultaneously. This is what we built while you thought we were weak. Zixthara, the council speaker, could barely form words. How? How did you hide this? We have surveyed your system dozens of times. We detected nothing. You detected what we wanted you to detect, Sarah replied. We learned from our history. Humans are excellent at deception when survival is at stake. We showed you our public fleet. 200 ships to make you comfortable, to make you think you understood our capabilities. While you watched those ships, we built 500,000 more that you never imagined existed. On his flagship, Commander Thaxis stared at the tactical display. His fleet of 50,000 ships was completely surrounded. Human dreadnoughts had emerged from every direction. They formed a sphere around the Vrexian fleet. Weapons charged and ready. Shields at maximum. The formation was perfect. Options, he demanded. His voice had lost its confidence. Sir, we are outnumbered 10-1, his tactical officer replied. Their ships are larger and show power readings we cannot match. If we fight, we will be destroyed. If we run, they will catch us. Their drive signatures indicate speed capabilities far beyond our own. The entire galactic broadcast network fell silent. Billions of beings watched and waited. The mighty Vrexian Empire, conquerors of 40 systems, was trapped. The weak humans had revealed themselves as the strongest force in known space. This is Admiral Kowalski of the Human Defense Fleet, a voice announced across all channels. Vrexian Fleet, you are surrounded. Power down your weapons and prepare to receive instructions. Any hostile action will be met with overwhelming force. You have 30 seconds to comply. The counting began. 30 seconds. Thaxis looked at his officers. They looked back with fear in their eyes. Their confidence had shattered. 20 seconds. On Earth. The 500,000 human dreadnoughts held perfect formation around the surrendered Vrexian fleet. Space itself seemed to bend under the weight of so much concentrated power. Every sensor in the Sol system tracked the scene. Every camera captured images that would be analyzed for years to come. Admiral Kowalski stood in his command center beneath Luna's surface. Around him, officers monitored displays showing tactical data. The Vrexian fleet had powered down their weapons as ordered. They sat in space like prey surrounded by predators. Open a channel to the Vrexian flagship, Kowalski ordered. Let Commander Thaxis see what he challenged. The view screen activated. Thaxis appeared, his reptilian features showing emotions that human translators interpreted as fear and confusion. Behind him, his bridge crew worked with frantic energy. They were trying to understand what had happened. Commander Thaxis, Kowalski began. His voice was calm but carried absolute authority. You came to our home system with 50,000 ships. You believed you could take our colonies by force. You thought we were weak. Would you like to understand your mistake? Thaxis struggled to speak. His translator device rendered his words in human standard. How did you build such a fleet? Where did you hide them? Our intelligence showed only 200 ships. Our sensors detected nothing else. Your intelligence was correct, Kowalski replied. We have 200 ships in our public fleet. Those ships are real. They patrol our space. They escort our merchant vessels. They show the galaxy a face we wanted you to see. He gestured to a display. What you did not see was the industrial capacity we built in secret. The view screen changed. It showed footage of the hidden shipyards, massive facilities inside Jupiter's moons. Construction bays carved into asteroid interiors, assembly lines operated by advanced robotics. The scale was staggering. For 50 years we built, Kowalski continued, automated facilities that required minimal human oversight, artificial intelligence that coordinated logistics across the entire solar system. We mined resources from asteroids and moons. We refined materials using techniques we developed ourselves. We constructed ships in places you never thought to look carefully. Across the galaxy, the broadcast reached every major world. Billions watched the human admiral explain how his species had deceived everyone. The implications were enormous. In research institutes throughout known space, scientists scrambled to analyze the data. The human power signatures made no sense. The energy readings exceeded theoretical maximums for fusion technology. Something else was powering those ships. "Show them," Kowalski ordered his crew. One of the dreadnoughts broke formation. It moved away from the fleet into open space near Mars. The ship was enormous up close, 5 kilometers of dark armor and weapon systems. It positioned itself near a small asteroid, nothing more than a rock perhaps 200 meters across. "That asteroid represents a Vrexian warship at scale," Kowalski explained. "Watch closely." The dreadnought's main weapon came online. Energy gathered at a point on the ship's bow. The power buildup was visible even to optical sensors. Space itself seemed to distort around the charging weapon. Then it fired. A beam of pure energy lanced across space. It struck the asteroid in less than a second. The rock did not shatter. It did not break apart. It simply ceased to exist. One moment there was an asteroid. The next moment there was expanding gas and debris so fine it might as well have been dust. The galactic networks exploded with activity. Every physicist wanted to analyze what they had just seen. The energy required to vaporize that much mass completely was beyond anything in standard galactic technology. "That was one shot from one weapon on one ship," Kowalski said. "We have 500,000 ships. Each carries multiple weapons of similar power. Do you understand now, Commander Thaxis? Your fleet of 50,000 ships faced a force that could have destroyed every vessel you brought without taking damage ourselves." Thaxis had no words. His people were warriors. They understood strength. What they had just witnessed was strength on a level they had never imagined possible. In the Galactic Council chambers, chaos reigned. Delegates shouted questions. Some demanded investigations. Others called for emergency security measures. The order that had existed for thousands of years was shaking. Ambassador Sarah Chen stood at the central platform. She waited for the noise to quiet. When it did not, she spoke anyway. Her voice cut through the confusion with surprising authority. "I understand your shock," she said. "You have questions. The galaxy deserves answers. Let me tell you why we did this." The chamber fell silent. Every being present wanted to hear the human explanation. "When humanity first made contact with galactic civilization, we were excited," Sarah began. "We thought we had joined a peaceful community. We were wrong. We studied your history. We learned about wars that killed billions. We discovered empires built on conquest. We saw that power determined survival in this galaxy." She activated a holographic display. It showed human history. Wars fought on ancient Earth. Weapons that evolved from simple tools to planet-destroying arsenals. Civilizations that rose and fell based on their military strength. "We humans have a long history of war," Sarah continued. "We nearly destroyed ourselves several times. We learned hard lessons about survival. One lesson stood above all others. Never be weak. Never be defenseless. Never depend on others for protection." The display changed. It showed the early days after first contact. Human leaders making decisions in secret meetings. Plans being drawn. Resources being allocated. The beginning of the Dreadnought Initiative. "We made a choice," and Sarah explained. "We would join your council. We would be friendly and peaceful. We would share our culture and learn from yours. But in secret we would build. We would prepare. We would make certain that no species could threaten our survival." "You lied to us," the Korthax delegate accused. "For 50 years you deceived the entire galaxy." "We protected ourselves," Sarah corrected. "Would you have reacted well if we had announced our intentions? If humanity had said from the beginning that we planned to build the largest fleet in galactic history? You would have seen us as a threat. Other species would have acted against us. We would have been forced into conflict before we were ready. The logic was undeniable. If humanity had been honest about their intentions, they would have been stopped." By hiding their strength, they had been able to build without interference. Zixathara, the council speaker, processed this information. The crystal being's thoughts moved through complex pathways. You planned this from the beginning. The friendly humans, the peaceful artists, all of it was a mask. Not all of it, Sarah replied. Our culture is real. Our art and music come from genuine human creativity. Our friendships with other species are sincere. But yes, we hid our military capabilities. We showed you what we wanted you to see while we prepared for the worst. Back in the Sol system, the demonstration continued. Human dreadnoughts moved through formations that showed perfect coordination. They accelerated to speeds that made Vrexian sensors struggle to track them. The quantum singularity drives pushed the massive ships through space with grace that belied their size. Those drive systems, a Vrexian engineer studied his readings. They should not be possible. The power output exceeds our fusion technology by factors of hundreds. What are they using? The answer would shock the galaxy when it was revealed. Humanity had developed quantum singularity containment. Each dreadnought carried a miniature-controlled singularity that generated nearly unlimited power. The technology was decades beyond anything else in known space. But drive systems were not the only advancement. Human weapons used principles of particle physics that galactic science had not discovered. Their shields utilized quantum field manipulation. Their sensors could detect ships through stealth technology that other species considered unbeatable. We did not just build more ships, Sarah explained to the council. We advanced our technology in secret. We devoted resources to research that other species thought impossible or too dangerous. We took risks. We pushed boundaries. We achieved breakthroughs that you will spend decades trying to understand. The galactic military analysts began to grasp the full picture. Humanity had not just built a large fleet. They had created a technological advantage that might take centuries for other species to match. What do you want? The delegate from the Thoraxian Confederacy asked. You have revealed your power. You have shocked the galaxy. What are your intentions? Sarah had waited 50 years for this question. We want what we have always wanted. To live in peace. To explore the galaxy. To be left alone. But now the galaxy knows what happens if anyone threatens us. We will defend ourselves with overwhelming force. We will not be conquered. We will not be intimidated. We will not be seen as weak ever again. The message was clear. Humanity was offering peace, but from a position of strength. They would be friendly neighbors to those who respected them. But any species that thought to take advantage of humanity would face the full might of 500,000 dreadnoughts. Commander Thaxus watched from his flagship. His empire had made a terrible mistake. The Vrexians prided themselves on military strength. Now they knew there was a power far greater than their own. The shame would last generations. What will you do with my fleet? He asked Admiral Kowalski. We will escort you to the edge of our 3 months had passed since the revelation at Sol. The galaxy had changed in ways both subtle and profound. Every species reevaluated their position. Every military force recalculated their strength. Every political alliance shifted to account for the new reality. Humanity was no longer the weak newcomer. They were a superpower. Ambassador Sarah Chen walked through the rebuilt Galactic Council chambers. The space looked the same but felt different. Delegates who once ignored her now stepped aside respectfully. Species that had dismissed humanity now sought meetings with human representatives. The shift in attitude was complete. The council was in emergency session, not to discuss threats or wars, but to address humanity's new status. 3 months of debate and negotiation had led to this moment. Council Speaker Zixathara called the session to order. The crystal being's voice carried authority that had been tested by recent events. We gather to formalize what has become obvious to all. Humanity can no longer be treated as a minor member species. Ambassador Chen, the Council offers humanity a permanent seat with full veto power over military actions. Do you accept? Sarah stood. She had prepared for this moment. We accept with conditions. Humanity seeks not dominance but equality. We propose the formation of a mutual defense initiative. Human shipyards will be made available to allied species. We will share some of our technology. In return, we ask for guarantees of non-aggression and free trade. The chamber erupted in discussion. Some delegates were excited by the possibility of accessing human technology. Others worried about what this meant for galactic power structures. But no one dismissed the proposal. No one could afford to. The delegate from Therox spoke first. Your offer is generous, but why? You have overwhelming military superiority. You could demand anything you want. Why offer to help other species? Because we learned something from our own history, Sarah replied. Power without purpose leads to corruption. Strength without responsibility leads to tyranny. We built this fleet to defend ourselves, but we recognize that a stable galaxy benefits everyone. If we help our allies become stronger, we all become more secure. It was a radical proposal. The galaxy had always operated on competition. Species hoarded technology and maintained advantages over potential rivals. Humanity was offering a different model, cooperation based on mutual benefit rather than dominance. Back on Earth, life had changed dramatically. The secret was out. Citizens who had not known about the hidden fleet struggled to process the revelation. Schools taught new history lessons about the Dreadnought Initiative. Media outlets ran endless analysis of what this meant for humanity's future. But there was also pride. The fear that had gripped Earth when the Rexian fleet approached had transformed into confidence. Humanity walked taller now. They had proven themselves on the galactic stage. Admiral Kowalski stood in the command center beneath Luna. Around him, his officers monitored the dreadnought fleet. The 500,000 ships had dispersed throughout human-controlled space. They no longer needed to hide. Their existence was known. Their power was established. Status report on the Mutual Defense Initiative, Kowalski requested. Commander Torres pulled up relevant data. 7 species have formally requested access to our shipyards. The Theraxians want to upgrade their defensive fleet. Korthax Prime seeks new shield technology. Even some smaller species that had no military force are asking for help building defensive capabilities. What about the Vrexians? Kowalski asked. Complete radio silence from their empire. Intelligence suggests they are reorganizing their entire military doctrine. The humiliation of their fleet being captured without firing a shot has created political chaos. Some factions want revenge. Others argue for accommodation with humanity. Kowalski nodded. The Vrexian response was predictable. A warrior culture faced with superior force would struggle to adapt. But time would tell whether they chose wisdom or pride. A priority message arrived from Earth's government. Kowalski read it and smiled. The President has approved the technology sharing program. We begin transfers next month. Start with the species that showed friendship when we were weak. The Theraxians get first access. The decision was strategic. By rewarding loyalty and punishing aggression, humanity was shaping galactic politics. Species learned that befriending humans brought benefits. Threatening humans brought consequences. On the Vrexian homeworld, Commander Thaxus stood before the Imperial Council. His mission had failed spectacularly. The Emperor himself presided over the hearing. Thaxus expected punishment, death perhaps. Instead, he received a different order. You will return to human space, the Emperor declared. Not with warships. With a diplomatic vessel, you will negotiate a non-aggression treaty. The Empire acknowledges human superiority. We will not make the mistake of challenging them again. It was a stunning reversal. The Vrexian Empire had never backed down before, but they were practical. They understood when they were outmatched. A 1,000-year treaty was better than destruction. The terms? Thaxus asked. Whatever they demand within reason, the Emperor replied. We will trade with them. We will respect their borders. We will not threaten their colonies. In return, we hope they will not destroy us. The Empire has survived for millennia by knowing when to fight and when to make peace. This is a time for peace. Back in the Galactic Council chambers, the vote concluded. By overwhelming majority, the Council approved humanity's conditions. Earth gained its permanent seat. The Mutual Defense Initiative became official policy. The galaxy entered a new era. Sarah Chen addressed the assembled delegates. Today marks a turning point. For too long, this galaxy has operated on fear and competition. Species hoarded power and viewed neighbors as threats. Humanity offers a different path. We will share what we have learned. We will protect those who cannot protect themselves. We will build a galaxy where strength is used for defense, not conquest. The applause was genuine. Many species had suffered under the old system. The promise of stability and cooperation appealed to them. But some remained skeptical. Power corrupts, history taught. Would humanity be different? Only time would tell. 6 months after the revelation, the first joint projects began. Human engineers worked alongside Theraxian scientists to upgrade their fleet. The shipyards around Jupiter's moons produced vessels for allied species. The technology transfers were carefully controlled, giving allies significant improvements without revealing humanity's most advanced secrets. The quantum singularity drives remained exclusive to human ships. The particle beam weapon stayed under human control. But shield technology was shared. Improved sensors were distributed. Allies became genuinely stronger without becoming equal to humanity. The strategy worked. Species that gained human technology became dependent on continued cooperation. They defended human interests because their own security now relied on the partnership. A web of mutual benefit spread across the galaxy. The Rexian Treaty was signed in a ceremony broadcast throughout known space. Commander Thaxis, now serving as his empire's ambassador to humanity, pledged non-aggression for 1,000 years. In return, humanity agreed to limited trade and respect for Vrexian sovereignty. Our two species met as enemies, Thaxis said during the ceremony. But we need not remain enemies. The Vrexian Empire recognizes that humanity is the dominant military power in this region of space. We choose peace with strength rather than war with destruction. It was a humiliating admission for a proud warrior culture, but it was also wisdom. The galaxy noticed. If even the Vrexians bowed to human power, what chance did lesser species have? 1 year after the revelation, Ambassador Sarah Chen stood on Earth looking at the stars. So much had changed. The planet she protected was now the center of galactic power. The species she represented had become the guardians of peace. But with power came responsibility. Human leaders understood this. They had studied history. They knew that empires rise and fall. They were determined to build something that would last. The 500,000 dreadnoughts remained on patrol, silent guardians of human space and allied territories. They were the stick that made diplomacy possible, the threat that made peace preferable to war. Admiral Kowalski joined her at the observation window. "Do you think we did the right thing?" he asked. "Revealing our strength the way we did?" Sarah considered the question. "We could have stayed hidden longer, but the Vrexians forced our hand, and maybe it was time. The galaxy needed to know, not just that we are strong, but that we are willing to use that strength wisely." "Some species will always fear us," Kowalski observed. "Let them fear," Sarah replied. "Better they fear us and stay peaceful than think us weak and attack. We built this fleet so we would never be victims again, so humanity would never depend on the mercy of others. That goal has been achieved." They stood in silence, watching Earth turn beneath them. On the surface, billions of humans lived their lives in security. They did not think about the fleet that protected them. They did not worry about galactic threats. That was the gift that 500,000 dreadnoughts provided. The freedom to live without fear. Across the galaxy, the lesson had been learned. Humanity was patient but not weak. They were friendly but not defenseless. The Great Hall of the Galactic Concordat stretched across 300 meters of polished stone. 7 species had built this chamber together, each contributing materials from their homeworlds. The Vrexian delegation sat on crystalline seats that hummed with their bioelectric fields. The Kethrans preferred the warm pools along the eastern wall. The Mycolians stood rooted in soil beds, their fungal networks connecting beneath the floor. Representatives from the Sauric Union, the Pelthine Collective, the Haxor Dominion, and the Zell Commonwealth filled the remaining spaces. They had gathered to discuss a problem. A new problem. A human problem. Ambassador Thulrek of Vrex stood at the central podium, his forearms spread wide in a gesture of concern. The bioluminescent patterns on his carapace pulsed red and orange, colors that conveyed urgency to those who understood Vrexian body language. "Members of the Concordat," Thulrek began, his translator converting his clicking speech into standard galactic language. "We can no longer ignore the threat rising in Sector 447. The species that calls themselves humans has achieved faster-than-light travel. They have established 17 colony worlds in just 30 cycles. Their expansion rate exceeds anything in recorded history." A Kethran delegate surfaced from her pool, water streaming from her gill slits. "Expansion alone is not a crime, Ambassador. The Concordat exists to facilitate peaceful coexistence, not to punish success." Thulrek's pattern shifted to aggressive purple. "This is not mere expansion. Our scouts have observed their behavior. They strip mine asteroids with no thought for ecological balance. They terraform worlds without checking for indigenous life. They have engaged in 17 separate wars among themselves. even as they spread across the stars. 17 Wars, Delegate Surash. They are violent by nature. The Mycolian speaker released a cloud of spores that the translation systems interpreted as contemplative doubt. We have reviewed the data. Humans are primitive, yes. Aggressive, certainly. But they are also fractured. They fight each other constantly. They have no unified government. They pose no real threat to species as advanced as ours. That is precisely the danger, Thalrek insisted. His lower arms manipulated a holographic display. Images of human cities appeared, sprawling and chaotic. They are unpredictable. They lack the wisdom that comes with age. They have developed fusion weapons, kinetic bombardment systems, and biological agents. They have all the tools of advanced warfare, but none of the restraint. A Sauric representative, barely a meter tall and covered in silver fur, chittered a question. What do you propose, Ambassador? Thalrek turned to face the assembly fully. Intervention. While they are still manageable, we approach their homeworld with a fleet large enough to demonstrate our superiority. We offer them a choice. Join the Concordat under our guidance, accept limitations on their expansion and military development, or face quarantine in their home system. Quarantine? The Pelthine delegate's tentacles writhed in distress. The Pelthines were peaceful traders, uncomfortable with military talk. You speak of blockading an entire species? If necessary, Thalrek said. Consider the alternative. In 100 cycles, perhaps 200, humans will have spread across 1,000 worlds. They will have refined their weapons. They will be impossible to contain. Better to act now when they respect our technological advantage, when they will see the wisdom of guidance from elder species. The debate continued for hours. The Mycolians argued for patience and observation. The Kethrans suggested diplomatic contact without military pressure. The Haxor Dominion, a warrior culture themselves, surprisingly sided with caution, noting that even primitive species could be dangerous when cornered. But Thalrek was persuasive. He showed recordings of human military exercises, their weapons tests, their entertainment media filled with glorification of violence. He presented economic projections showing human colonies consuming resources at rates that would create competition with concordant interests within 50 cycles. He painted a picture of a species that would either need to be guided now or fought later. The vote took place under the chamber's central dome, where light from the Concordat's founding stars shone through crystalline panels. Each delegate registered their decision through their species-specific interface. The results appeared in glowing symbols that all could understand. 5 species voted in favor of intervention. 2 voted against. Thalrek's patterns flashed victorious gold. The Concordat has spoken. I volunteer to lead the pacification fleet. We will approach the humans with overwhelming force and clear intention. They will see that resistance is futile. They will accept our terms, and the galaxy will be safer for it. One voice rose in final protest. Scholar Mixon of the Mycolians, an elderly entity whose network had lived for 600 cycles, released spores that translated to grave warning. I must note my objection for the record. We know very little about human psychology. They are the first species we have encountered that evolved as persistence hunters, that developed civilization through competition rather than cooperation. Every species in this chamber evolved from prey animals or communal organisms. We may not understand how a predator species thinks. Thalrek dismissed the concern with a wave of his upper arms. They are flesh and blood, scholar. They require oxygen, water, and food. They can be killed. They will understand the language of superior force just as all species do. Your caution is noted but unnecessary. The preparations began immediately. The Concordat's military, rarely assembled at full strength, began gathering at the Nexus yards. Warships from 7 different species, each designed according to their own engineering principles, formed into a unified armada. The Vrexian dreadnoughts, massive and bristling with plasma batteries. The Kethran frigates fast and equipped with advanced shields. The Haxor battle carriers each holding squadrons of fighters. The Sauric stealth ships, the Pelthine support vessels. The Zell cruisers with their experimental weapons. The Mycolian bioships, living vessels grown rather than built. 3,000 ships in total, the largest fleet ever assembled by the Concordat. More than enough to intimidate any reasonable species into compliance. Thalrek stood on the bridge of his flagship, the inevitable consequence, and watched the fleet take formation around him. His crew worked efficiently at their stations, confident in their technology and training. They had no reason for doubt. The Concordat had existed for 12,000 cycles. They had welcomed 43 species into their fold, some peacefully, others after brief demonstrations of force. Not one had refused to see reason once confronted with Concordat power. Humans would be no different. They had to be reasonable. All intelligent species were reasonable when faced with overwhelming odds. The fleet engaged their faster-than-light drives. Space folded around them. They vanished from the Nexus yards and began their journey to human space. The trip would take 15 standard days. Thalrek spent that time reviewing the battle plans, though he expected no battle. This would be a show of force, nothing more. The humans would see the fleet, understand their position, and accept the Concordat's generous terms. He recorded a message to be sent to the Concordat Council upon arrival. We depart for human space with confidence and purpose. When next you hear from me, the human question will be resolved. The galaxy will have one more member species, properly guided and controlled. This is a great day for peace and order. The message was transmitted back to the Concordat homeworlds. It would be the last optimistic communication the Council would receive for a very long time. Thalrek had no way of knowing that he had just made the worst mistake in galactic history. He had no way of knowing that humanity had been waiting for this moment, preparing for it, dreading it since the day they first looked up at the stars and wondered what else was out there. He had no way of knowing that humans did not think like other species, that they would not calculate odds and accept the logical outcome, that they would rather burn than kneel. The fleet jumped toward its destination, carrying 3,000 ships and 7 species toward a war that would leave only ruins behind. The planet New Harmony orbited a yellow star on the outer edge of human-colonized space. 3 million humans called it home. They grew crops in engineered soil, raised children in prefabricated cities, and dreamed of the day when their world would be as green as Earth. It was a peaceful place, far from the political tensions of the core worlds. That peace ended when the sensors detected 3,000 unknown vessels dropping out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. Governor Sarah Chen received the alert in the middle of the night. She rushed to the command center still wearing her sleeping clothes, her heart hammering in her chest. The screen showed a sight that humanity had feared and hoped for in equal measure since they first left Earth. First contact. They were not alone, but this was not the friendly greeting humanity had imagined. The alien fleet formed a blockade pattern around the planet. Every ship had weapons active. Energy signatures indicated enough firepower to turn New Harmony's surface into molten glass. The communication came 30 minutes later. The translator algorithm struggled at first, then managed to produce understandable speech. The voice was artificial, emotionless, accompanied by visual data showing a creature with 4 arms and a shell-like body that glowed with strange lights. Humans of New Harmony. I am Ambassador Thalrek of the Galactic Concordat. You are hereby informed that humanity has been deemed a dangerous and unstable species. Your rapid expansion and militaristic tendencies pose a threat to galactic peace. The Concordat has voted to intervene in your development. You will accept Concordat oversight of your military and colonial programs. You will submit to technological limitations. You will join the Concordat as a junior member species, subject to guidance from elder civilizations. You have 12 standard hours to signal your acceptance. Refusal will result in the isolation of your species to your home system, enforced by permanent blockade. Resistance will be met with appropriate force. Governor Chen stared at the screen long after the message ended. Around her, the command staff waited in shocked silence. They had no military vessels in orbit. New Harmony had a few patrol boats designed to intercept asteroids, nothing more. The nearest human fleet was 3 weeks away at best. She opened a channel back to the alien fleet. Ambassador Thalrek, I am Governor Sarah Chen. I speak for 3 million humans on this world. We have no authority to surrender humanity's sovereignty. That decision belongs to our governments on Earth and the other core worlds. If you want to negotiate, you need to contact them directly. You misunderstand. Thalrek's translated voice came back. This is not a negotiation. This is notification. We do not recognize your fractured political systems. You will accept Concordat terms or you will be contained. The choice is simple. Chen felt ice in her stomach. She had studied history. She knew what happened when advanced civilizations met less developed ones. It rarely ended well for the latter. And if we refuse, then you will remain on your current worlds. Any ship that attempts to leave human space will be destroyed. Any transmission will be blocked. You will be alone until such time as you develop the wisdom to join galactic civilization properly." Chen closed the channel. She looked at her staff. They looked back at her with fear in their eyes. She knew what she had to do, even though it terrified her. She opened a channel to Earth and the other colonies, sending the alien message and her recommendation. The response came back within 4 hours. It was not what the Concordat expected. No. That single word, transmitted from Earth, from Mars, from the 63 human colonies, was unanimous. Humanity had spent 300 years clawing their way to the stars. They had survived wars, plagues, climate disasters, and the near destruction of their homeworld. They had left Earth because they refused to put all their eggs in one basket, because they believed in spreading across the cosmos as insurance against extinction. And now aliens appeared, not with friendship or curiosity, but with ultimatums and threats. Humanity's answer was the same it had always been to those who demanded submission. No. Thulrek received the response with confusion that shifted to anger, his body lights flashing red. They refuse? They see our fleet and they refuse? This is illogical. They cannot win. His tactical officer, a younger Vrexian named Sixal, pointed to new sensor readings. "Ambassador, we are detecting movement on the surface. The humans are launching something. Their patrol boats? Irrelevant. Destroy them." "No, sir. Not ships. These are smaller, thousands of them, tens of thousands." The screens showed a swarm of objects rising from New Harmony's surface. They were crude, barely more than engines strapped to explosive warheads, but there were so many of them. The humans had converted their entire stockpile of industrial rockets into weapons. "Evasive action," Thulrek ordered. "Point defense systems, eliminate those primitives." The Concordat fleet's automated defenses activated. Lasers and plasma bursts filled space, destroying the incoming missiles by the hundreds. But more kept coming. The humans had launched everything they had, knowing most would be destroyed, counting on a few getting through, and a few did. 3 missiles struck a Kethran frigate, overwhelmed its shields and detonated against the hull. The ship did not explode, but it listed, trailing atmosphere and fluids. 6 more missiles hit a Sauric stealth vessel that had moved too close to the planet. Its stealth systems failed, and follow-up strikes tore it apart. Thulrek stared in disbelief as casualty reports came in. 2 ships destroyed, 7 damaged. Against primitive rockets, impossible. "Return fire," he ordered. "Target their launch sites." The fleet's main weapons spoke. Plasma beams lanced down through New Harmony's atmosphere, turning missile silos into craters. Kinetic rounds struck factories and military bases. The bombardment was precise and devastating, but the humans had expected it. The launch sites were automated, the operators already evacuated. The real military bases were decoys. While the Concordat fleet destroyed empty buildings, the human population was streaming into underground shelters and transport ships hidden in canyons and forests. "They are escaping," Sixal reported. "Multiple small vessels lifting off from scattered locations. They are using terrain to mask their signatures until they reach orbit. Intercept them all," Thulrek commanded. But even as he gave the order, he knew it was impossible. The fleeing ships scattered in every direction. Some were destroyed, but hundreds escaped, jumping to faster than light speed before the Concordat ships could pursue. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it ended, New Harmony's surface was scarred but not destroyed. The Concordat fleet had won, but the victory felt hollow. 9 ships destroyed, 23 damaged, nearly 2,000 Concordat crew members dead, against a colony with no military fleet. And worse, most of the humans had escaped. Thulrek ordered Marines to land and secure the planet. They found a few thousand humans who had chosen to stay behind, mostly elderly and infirm who could not make the journey. The prisoners were processed and confined. One old man, a veteran of some human war, was brought before Thulrek. "Why?" Thulrek demanded. "Why resist? You cannot win. We are more advanced, more numerous. Surrender would have saved lives." The old man looked at the alien ambassador with eyes that had seen too much. "You don't understand us at all, do you? You came here with threats and demands. You told us to kneel or be destroyed. Did you really think we would accept that?" "It was logical, reasonable. Maybe for you, not for us. You want to know about humans? We are the species that survived ice ages and plagues. We are the species that split the atom and walked on our moon before we even had computers in our pockets. We are the species that nearly destroyed ourselves a dozen times and kept coming back. You think you can break us? You just made the biggest mistake in your history. You are primitives with delusions of strength. The old man smiled, and there was no humor in it. You still don't understand. That's fine, you will. You see, you came to one colony and lost 9 ships. There are 63 human colonies, and now you have made all of them angry. You should have left us alone. Thalrek dismissed the prisoner, but as he stood on the bridge of his damaged flagship, looking at casualty reports that should not exist, he felt the first touch of doubt. The fleet had won the battle, but the humans had fought with a ferocity that made no strategic sense. They had sacrificed everything to hurt the Concordat, even when victory was impossible. Then the reports started coming in from Concordat space. Human ships appearing without warning, not military vessels. Civilian transports, cargo haulers, colony ships, all of them loaded with weapons. All of them attacking Concordat targets without warning or mercy. The humans had gone to war. Not with strategy or careful planning. With rage. The war had been raging for 3 cycles, and Ambassador Thalrek no longer recognized the galaxy he had known. The Concordat fleet that had numbered 3,000 ships now counted fewer than 800 combat-capable vessels. The humans, who were supposed to be primitive and easily contained, had become a nightmare that haunted every corner of Concordat space. Thalrek stood in the war room aboard the inevitable Consequence, his carapace now scarred from 3 separate battles, his bioluminescent patterns permanently dimmed from stress. Around him, tactical displays showed a map of disasters. Red markers indicated Concordat worlds that had gone silent. Yellow markers showed systems under attack. Green markers, indicating safe territory, had nearly vanished. Report, he commanded, his voice tired. Sixall, now promoted to fleet commander after her predecessor died at the Battle of Kelthus, manipulated the display. The Haxor colony of Vrac 7 has fallen silent. That makes 11 Haxor worlds lost this cycle. The Dominion is requesting permission to withdraw its remaining forces from the Alliance. Denied, Thalrek said automatically. Though he knew it was futile, the Concordat was breaking apart. Each species now fought primarily to defend its own territory. There is worse news, Sixall continued. We have confirmed the nature of the weapon used at Vrac 7. The humans deployed a kinetic impactor, a ship-sized mass of iron and nickel, accelerated to 90% of light speed. The impact released energy equivalent to... She paused, her patterns flickering with distress. Equivalent to 1,000,000 fusion warheads. Vrac 7 no longer has a biosphere. The planet is dead. Silence filled the war room. The Mycolian liaison, one of the few still communicating with the Vrexian command, released spores of mourning. They are using relativistic weapons. This violates every principle of civilized warfare. Thalrek would have laughed if he remembered how. Civilized warfare. The humans have no concept of it. They fight to exterminate, not to conquer. Every tactic we deem unthinkable, they embrace. The evidence supported his words. The humans had unleashed horrors across the galaxy. They used artificial intelligence to pilot unmanned ships, something the Concordat had banned for 8,000 cycles, after AI wars nearly destroyed several species. They deployed biological weapons engineered to target specific Concordat species, diseases that killed with terrible efficiency. They sent ships on suicide runs, ramming Concordat vessels at relativistic speeds. Worst of all, they targeted civilians without hesitation. Concordat colony ships, medical vessels, supply convoys, nothing was sacred. The humans seemed to believe that if they could not win, they would ensure the Concordat lost everything. How did we miss this? The Mycolian liaison asked. How did we not see what they were capable of? Thalrek finally had an answer to that question. He had spent the past 3 cycles studying human history, trying to understand the enemy he had created. We looked at their technology and thought we understood them. We did not look at their psychology. Every species in the Concordat evolved as prey or as communal organisms. We understand cooperation and hierarchy because our survival depended on it. Humans evolved as apex predators on a death world. He pulled up images of Earth, humanity's homeworld. Their planet tried to kill them for millions of cycles. Ice ages, supervolcano eruptions, plagues, megafauna that hunted them. They survived by being more stubborn than anything else on their world. They survived by refusing to give up, even when extinction seemed certain. And when they developed intelligence, they turned those survival instincts into culture. The displays showed human history, wars that killed millions, yet humanity persisted, disasters that should have ended their civilization, Yet they rebuilt. They have a saying, Thalrek continued. Give me liberty or give me death. They mean it literally. They would rather die as a species than submit to us. We threatened their freedom, and they responded the only way their evolution taught them. They are trying to kill us all. A priority alert interrupted the briefing. Sixal's patterns flashed alarm. Sir, multiple human fleets detected entering Vrexian core space. They are heading for— No, they would not. Where? Thalrek demanded, though dread already told him the answer. They are heading for Vrex Prime, our homeworld. Fleet strength estimated at 200 vessels, but these are not military ships. They appear to be modified colony ships and cargo haulers. Their hulls are filled with fusion warheads and antimatter containment failures. Thalrek understood immediately. The humans were not coming to invade Vrex Prime. They were coming to destroy it. 200 ships each turned into a massive bomb, targeted at his homeworld, at the birthplace of his species, at the world where 3 billion Vrexians lived. How long until they arrive? 6 hours. And our defense fleet? Engaged in the outer sectors. They cannot return in time. We have orbital defense platforms, but against 200 ships. Sixal did not finish the sentence. They both knew the platforms would not be enough. Thalrek made his decision. Evacuate the homeworld. Emergency protocols. Get as many off-world as possible. In 6 hours, we might save a few million. The rest will die because I started this war. Do it. The evacuation began, but it was chaos. Ships designed to carry thousands tried to load tens of thousands. Orbital elevators, never meant to operate at full capacity for more than a few hours, ran continuously. Parents held children as they pushed toward departing vessels. The elderly were left behind, accepting their fate so the young might live. The human fleet arrived on schedule. The Vrexian defense platforms opened fire, destroying ship after ship, but there were too many. Nuclear fire bloomed across Vrex Prime's orbit as the human vessels detonated themselves, some hitting their targets, others simply releasing their payloads into decaying orbits. Thalrek watched from a command ship in high orbit, forced to witness the death of his world. Mushroom clouds rose across 3 continents. Cities that had stood for 10,000 cycles vanished in seconds. The defense platforms themselves were targeted and destroyed. When it was over, Vrex Prime's atmosphere was choked with radioactive dust. Its cities were rubble. Its people were dead or dying. 2.7 billion Vrexians gone. In one attack. Because Thalrek had thought humans would be reasonable, but the humans were not finished. Reports came in from across concordate space. The Kethran homeworld attacked. The Sauric core colonies burning. The Pelthine trade hub destroyed. The humans had identified every important world in the concordate and struck them simultaneously. They had hidden fleets for cycles preparing for this moment, waiting until they could deliver maximum devastation. The Concordate Council, what remained of it, convened in a hidden bunker on a minor world. Representatives appeared via hologram, their homeworlds too dangerous to leave. Thalrek stood before them, ready to accept whatever judgment they delivered. The Mycolian speaker, Ancient Mixin, who had warned against the war from the beginning, addressed him. Ambassador Thalrek, you led us into this catastrophe. 4 of the 7 concordate species face extinction. The humans have destroyed 43 worlds completely. Hundreds more are damaged beyond recovery. What do you have to say? Thalrek's pattern showed only sorrow and resignation. I miscalculated. I thought military superiority would force surrender. I did not understand that humans see surrender as worse than death. I did not understand that they have been preparing for hostile first contact since they first achieved spaceflight. I did not understand that they would sacrifice everything, accept mutual destruction rather than submit to us. And now we must accept that we cannot win this war. The humans are willing to burn the galaxy down and we are not. They have already lost billions. They will accept losing billions more. We cannot match that willingness to sacrifice. We must retreat, hide, scatter our populations to make them harder to target, and hope the humans are satisfied with what they have destroyed. The Haxor representative, a scarred warrior who had lost 3 worlds, growled his agreement. The Dominion withdraws from concordate space. We will defend our remaining colonies, but we will engage humans no further. This war is lost. One by one, the other species agreed. The concordate, 12,000 cycles old, collapsed in a single session. Each species retreating to defend what little remained of their territory. each species hoping the humans would not pursue them into the darkness. Thulrek issued his final order as ambassador. All concordant forces retreat from human space. Abandon all forward positions. Do not engage human vessels unless directly attacked. Send a message to Earth and all human colonies. We surrender. We will withdraw. We ask only that they stop the killing. The message was sent. 3 days later, a response came back. It was short. Withdraw beyond the barrier zone. Enter human space again, and there will be no mercy. We did not start this war, but we will end it. The Concordat obeyed. They had no choice. Zixil had been born 300 cycles after the war ended, on a world so far from the old Concordat territories that the war was nothing but legend to her generation. She was a Pelthine, her species having survived better than most, and she had dedicated her life to archaeology. The past fascinated her. The ruins called to her. Now at the age of 40 cycles, she floated in the observation dome of her research vessel, looking at what remained of Rex Prime. The planet hung in space like a scarred monument to folly. Its atmosphere had cleared over the centuries, but the surface remained mostly dead. Radiation levels had dropped to survivable ranges only in the past 50 cycles. Her assistant, a young Pelthine named Dor-Al, drifted beside her. "Are you certain about this, Scholar Zixil? The ruined sector is forbidden. If the humans are still out there..." "We have detected no human activity in 300 cycles," Zixil said, though she understood the fear. Every spacefaring species told stories about the humans. The vengeful ghosts of the old war. The species so terrible they had nearly ended all life in the galaxy. And I have obtained proper authorization. The new council wants to know what really happened. They want the truth, not the legends. The research vessel, small and unarmed, descended through Vrex Prime's thin atmosphere. The landing site was a city that ancient records called Carthax, once home to 50 million Vrexians. Now it was rubble and rust. Buildings collapsed into streets, nature slowly reclaiming what little organic material remained. Zixil and her team exited the vessel wearing full environmental suits, though they were probably unnecessary. The radiation was low enough. The air was breathable, if thin, but protocol demanded caution in the ruins sector. They began their survey using ground-penetrating scanners to locate intact structures beneath the surface. Zixil had done this before on other dead worlds, but Vrex Prime was special. This was where the war had truly turned. This was where both sides had crossed the line from which there was no return. On the third day of excavation, they found it. A bunker buried under 30 meters of collapsed buildings. The entrance was sealed but not destroyed. Zixil's team carefully cut through the door, revealing a darkness that had been undisturbed for centuries. Inside, they found bodies. Phyrexian civilians killed by the initial blast wave, their shells cracked and their organic parts long since turned to dust. Zixil documented everything respectfully, aware that these were the victims of a war they had not started and could not prevent. Deeper in the bunker, they found something more valuable than bodies. A data storage facility, its power cells somehow still holding a charge. Zixil's manipulator tentacles trembled as she interfaced with the ancient systems. If this contained what she hoped, the data streamed into her portable terminal. Military logs, civilian reports, personal journals, and most importantly, a complete record of Ambassador Thulrek's command logs from the beginning of the war until the fall of Rex Prime. Zixil read through the night, her team sleeping in shifts while she absorbed the horror of what had happened. She read Thulrek's initial confidence, his certainty that humans would be reasonable. She read his growing confusion as the war went wrong. She read his despair as he realized he had doomed his species. One entry recorded the day before Vrex Prime fell struck her deeply. "I have spent these past cycles reviewing human history and psychology. I now understand what we did. We encountered a species whose entire evolutionary history taught them that submission equals death. When their ancestors faced extinction, they did not accept it. They fought, they adapted, they survived. For 4 million cycles, anything that tried to dominate humanity was destroyed or driven back. It is in their genetic memory, their cultural memory, their individual psychology. We appeared in their space and demanded surrender. We might as well have asked them to stop breathing. They could not have reacted any other way. We created this war by fundamentally misunderstanding who they were. But that is not the full story. I have also discovered something else. The humans were preparing for this. Not for war with us specifically, but for war with someone. When they first achieved spaceflight, their scientists and philosophers debated the nature of first contact. They created scenarios, war plans, contingencies. They called it the first contact problem. What if the aliens are hostile? What if they are more advanced? What if they want to destroy us? Their answer was to prepare for the worst and hope for the best. They scattered their colonies to make themselves harder to destroy. They researched weapons that could threaten more advanced civilizations. They created plans for asymmetric warfare. They made it clear through all their transmissions into space that they desired peace, but would wage total war if threatened. We saw the transmissions. We saw the messages of greeting and friendship. We did not see the guns they were holding behind their backs, hoping never to use them. We forced them to draw those guns, and now we all pay the price. Zixel found herself releasing spores of mourning, a Peltine expression of grief. Tholrek had understood at the end, but understanding had come too late. She continued her expedition across Frex Prime and then to other dead worlds. The Kethrin homeworld, its oceans boiled away by orbital bombardment. The Sauric capital, where biological weapons had left the cities intact, but every living thing dead. The Haxor warrior moon, destroyed by a relativistic impact that had cracked the planetoid in half. On each world, she found the same story. Civilians caught in a war they did not understand, killed by weapons they had never imagined. The Concordat had waged war on humanity. Humanity had waged war on everything. On a human colony world called New Harmony, she found something different. The world was alive but empty. The humans had evacuated during the initial battle and never returned. Buildings stood intact, weathered by time but recognizable. And in the central square of the capital city, she found a monument. It was a simple stone pillar 3 meters tall, with text carved in human writing and galactic standard. Her translator rendered it. Here stood New Harmony, first human world attacked by alien aggression. 3,000 of our people died defending their homes. 3 million escaped to carry on the fight. We did not want this war. We begged for peace. We were answered with weapons. So we showed them what humanity becomes when cornered. We showed them the price of threatening our survival. We do not celebrate what we did. We do not glory in the deaths we caused, but we will not apologize for refusing to kneel. If others come after the Concordat, let them read this and understand. Humanity will not submit. Ever. We will accept friendship. We will accept peace, but we will never accept chains. Zixel recorded the monument and added it to her growing archive. She visited 40 dead worlds over 3 cycles of research. She documented the ruins of 7 civilizations. She pieced together the final days of the war. The Concordat had collapsed after Vrex Prime fell. The surviving population scattered to hidden colonies, hoping to escape human vengeance. The humans had pursued them for another 2 cycles, hunting down every military target they could find. Then abruptly the human attacks had stopped. Not because humanity had won, because they had exhausted themselves. The war had cost humanity dearly. 8 billion dead, 30 colony worlds destroyed, their economy shattered, their fleet reduced to a fraction of pre-war strength. They had won, but victory had nearly destroyed them. The final human transmission to the galaxy, sent 50 cycles after the war began, was brief. Humanity withdraws to our borders. We claim the territory we have taken. We will defend it against all threats. We seek no further conflict, but we will remember what was done to us, and we will be ready if it happens again. After that, silence. 300 cycles of silence. No human ships had been seen beyond their borders. No human transmissions detected. They had walled themselves off from the galaxy, content to remain in isolation, or perhaps they were still there, watching, waiting, ready to respond if anyone else made Tholrek's mistake. Zixel completed her research and compiled her findings into a comprehensive report. She included the facts, the numbers, the timeline of atrocities committed by both sides, but she also included the context, the why, the how, the terrible, avoidable mistakes that had led to mutual destruction. She titled her report, "The Species That Would Not Kneel, A Complete History of the Human Concordat War." Before submitting it to the new council, she added one final note. This war should never have happened. It began with arrogance and ignorance. It escalated because neither side understood the other. It ended with ruins because both sides were willing to destroy everything rather than back down. Let this report serve as a warning. First contact requires wisdom, patience, and above all, respect. The Concordat forgot this. Humanity made them remember. May we never need to learn this lesson again. The new Galactic Council chamber looked nothing like the old Concordat hall. It was smaller, more modest, built by species who had learned humility through suffering. Only 5 species had survived the war in sufficient numbers to maintain spacefaring civilizations. 3 others had been reduced to pre-industrial populations, clinging to survival on their few remaining worlds. 2 had gone extinct. Zixil stood before the council representatives, her research compiled into a holographic presentation that hung in the air above the assembly. She had spent the past cycle organizing her findings, verifying every fact, preparing for this moment. The truth of the human war, as it was now called, needed to be told. The council speaker, a Mycolian descended from Scholar Mixon's network, released spores that translated as formal greeting. Scholar Zixil of the Peltine Archives, you have spent 3 cycles researching the Forbidden Ruins. You have documented what remains of the war. We are prepared to hear your findings. Zixil activated her presentation. Images of dead worlds appeared, statistics of destruction, timelines of battles. But she did not start with the horrors. She started with the beginning. The war started with a vote, she began. 7 species decided that humanity posed a threat. They were not entirely wrong. Humanity was aggressive, expansionist, and heavily armed. But the Concordat misunderstood what those traits meant. They saw danger. They did not see desperation. She pulled up images of Earth, pre-contact humanity, their history of survival against impossible odds. Humanity evolved on a death world. Their planet tried to kill them repeatedly. Ice ages, megavolcanoes, plagues, predators. Most species would have gone extinct. Humanity adapted. They survived by being too stubborn to die. This created a psychology fundamentally different from ours. The council listened as she explained the human concept of liberty or death, their cultural horror of submission, their preparation for hostile first contact. She showed them Tholrek's logs, his growing understanding of what he had unleashed. Ambassador Tholrek believed military superiority would force compliance. Zixil continued. He was wrong. Humans do not think in terms of acceptable losses. They think in terms of acceptable sacrifices. They were willing to sacrifice everything, including their own survival, rather than submit. The Concordat was not willing to match that sacrifice, so the Concordat lost. A Haxor representative, a species that had once prided itself on warrior culture, spoke. Are you suggesting the Concordat should have fought harder? Should have matched human ruthlessness? No, Zixil said firmly. I am suggesting the war should never have happened. The Concordat had the power to destroy humanity, but not the will. Humanity had the will to die fighting, but not the power to win cleanly. So both sides destroyed each other. The real lesson is simpler. Do not threaten a species that prefers death to submission unless you are willing to commit genocide. And if you are willing to commit genocide, you are the villain, not them. The chamber fell silent. It was one thing to study the war academically. It was another to state the truth so bluntly. Zixil pressed on. My research is complete. I have documented everything. The Concordat's arrogance, humanity's ferocity, the atrocities committed by both sides. I recommend this information be preserved and taught to all spacefaring species. It must become required reading for anyone involved in first contact protocols. And what of humanity? Asked the Peltine Council member. Your report says they survived, though damaged. Are they still out there? Unknown, Zixil admitted. They withdrew to their borders 300 cycles ago, and have not been seen since. They may have recovered and are watching us. They may have collapsed entirely. They may have evolved beyond the need for external contact. Or, she paused, considering her next words carefully, or they may be waiting to see if someone else makes the Concordat's mistake. A young Kethran diplomat, born long after the war, raised a question. If we encounter humans again, what should we do? Treat them with respect, Zixil said immediately. Offer friendship, not demands. Trade, not ultimatums. Remember that they are a species that has survived everything their universe threw at them. They are not to be threatened. But they are not monsters either. Before the war, human transmissions spoke of peace and cooperation. They wanted friends among the stars. We gave them enemies instead. The council debated for hours after Zixil's presentation ended. Some argued her report was too sympathetic to humanity. that it did not sufficiently condemn their use of weapons the Concordat considered unthinkable. Others argued it was too harsh on the Concordat, that it failed to acknowledge legitimate concerns about human expansion. In the end, the Council voted to accept her report and add it to the official historical record. It would be taught in schools, shown to diplomats, and included in first contact training. The human war would become the cautionary tale that shaped galactic policy for generations. But acceptance of the report was not universal. Some species, particularly those who had lost the most, rejected the idea that the Concordat bore primary responsibility. They told different stories, ones where humanity were monsters who had attacked without provocation. These false narratives spread in some sectors, particularly those far from the ruins. Zixel found herself traveling the galaxy, giving lectures, correcting misinformation. She became the foremost expert on the human war, her name synonymous with the truth of what had happened. It was exhausting work, but necessary. The lies had to be countered. The lessons had to be learned. Then, 50 cycles after her initial report, something happened that changed everything. A trading vessel in the outer sectors picked up a signal. It was faint, distant, but unmistakable. Human language. A transmission from deep space, from beyond the old borders where humanity had withdrawn. The message was simple. This is the human exploration vessel Perseverance. We are on a peaceful mission to study local stellar phenomena. We mean no harm to any species we encounter. If you receive this message, please respond. We would welcome contact. The galaxy held its breath. Humanity had returned. Or perhaps they had never left, just watched and waited, testing whether the younger species had learned wisdom. The Council convened an emergency session. Zixel was called to advise. The question before them was simple but terrifying. How should they respond? Some advocated silence. Do not poke the sleeping predator. Others suggested a military response. Strike first before humanity could rebuild their war machine. Zixel listened to the arguments with growing frustration until she could no longer remain silent. You are making the same mistake the Concordat made, she said, her spores releasing sharp rebuke. You are seeing humans as a threat instead of as people. They sent an exploration vessel, not a warship. They offered peace, not demands. They are giving us a chance to do this right. And if it is a trick? The Haxo representative demanded. If they are testing our defenses? Then we will have lost nothing by offering friendship, Zixel replied. But if we respond with fear or hostility, we will prove that the galaxy learned nothing from the war. We will prove that humanity was right to isolate themselves. Is that what you want? The Council debated for 3 days. Finally, they voted. The response would be peaceful. Cautious but peaceful. An invitation to dialogue, not a threat. The message was sent. Human vessel Perseverance. This is the Galactic Council of Successor Species. We have received your transmission. We welcome peaceful contact. We acknowledge the mistakes of the past and seek to build a better future. If you are willing, we would like to establish diplomatic communication. Zixel volunteered to be part of the first contact team. If humanity responded, if they agreed to meet, she wanted to be there. She had spent her life studying the war. She deserved to see the peace. The response came 3 weeks later. Galactic Council, this is Captain Maria Santos of the Perseverance. We are authorized by the Human Federal Assembly to initiate contact. We propose a meeting at neutral coordinates. We will send 2 representatives unarmed. We hope you will do the same. The meeting was arranged. A small station in neutral space, with representatives from both sides and absolutely no weapons permitted. Zixel was chosen as one of the Council's representatives, along with a Mycolian diplomat. The humans sent Captain Santos and a civilian historian named Dr. James Chen. When the airlock opened and the humans stepped through, Zixel felt a moment of primal fear. These were the species that had destroyed the Concordat. These were the apex predators of legend. But then she looked at them, really looked, and saw past the legend to the reality. They were small, fragile-looking compared to most spacefaring species. They moved with caution, their body language carefully non-threatening. Captain Santos extended her hand in a gesture Zixel recognized from human cultural databases as a greeting. Thank you for agreeing to meet, Santos said, her translator rendering her words into standard galactic language. We were not sure anyone would respond to our message. Thank you for reaching out, Zixel replied, extending her tentacles in a peltine gesture of respect. We have learned much since the war. We hope you have as well.